Help me hit 2K subscribers. First I thought it was a dream. The room was dark except for the glow of her phone lighting her face. Angelic in shape, guilty in expression. She didn't notice that I'd turned toward her. She didn't notice the way my breath caught, or the way I swallowed hard enough to taste iron. She just kept typing, thumbs moving fast, desperate. And that name, Evan, hung in the air like smoke. I didn't say anything. Not then. I just lay there, letting the dread spread through me, slow and thick, like ink seeping into paper. It wasn't the first time I'd felt something was wrong. But it was the first time I had evidence. A whisper. Name. A lie she couldn't explain away. When her phone finally dimmed and she turned to sleep, I turned the other way, eyes open, listening to the hum of the ceiling fan, trying to swallow the weight of a truth I didn't want. The story of how we ended up here didn't begin that night. Maybe it began at our wedding when she stopped mid-vow, lifted her phone, and announced to thousands of strangers watching her live stream. Hold on, this angle is too good not to capture. Everyone laughed. I forced myself to laugh with them. But even then I felt it. The fracture, the subtle shift of her attention away from us and toward the world watching us. I'm building my brand, she told me. It's our life, babe. People love us. I didn't say what I wanted to say, which was that I loved her. Not her followers, not the comments pouring in, not the endless search for validation she mistook for connection. But marriage teaches you to pick your battles. I just didn't realize she was already fighting one behind my back. The morning after I heard her whisper the name, I brewed coffee like always. I made her mug the way she liked. Oat milk, vanilla, 1 sugar, and set it on the counter. Her smile was warm but distracted. She was answering messages again, fingertips dancing over the screen. Sleep okay? She asked. Not really, I answered, studying her reaction. She didn't look up. I almost asked. I almost said, who is Evan? Why were you whispering to him at 3 in the morning? But I wanted proof. I wanted the truth to stand on its own legs, not collapse beneath her charm or the ease with which she could turn a confession into an apology, and an apology into a reason to pity her. So I stayed quiet. The next clue came 3 days later. She left her tablet on the couch while running upstairs to grab a jacket. Normally I wouldn't touch her devices, not because she'd ever forbidden me, but because I wasn't that person. I believed trust wasn't trust unless you left some things unexamined. But the notification that flashed across the screen stopped me cold. Evan. When will he be gone again? My fingers shook. I shouldn't have, but I opened the message thread. Pictures. Late-night confessions. Flirtation that had started with harmless compliments and had grown into full-blown emotional intimacy. Words she'd never said to me. Not even when we were new and fragile and trying to impress the idea of forever upon each other. Miss you. I can't stop thinking about last time. He doesn't even notice anymore. My vision blurred. I closed the tablet when I heard her footsteps coming down the stairs. I didn't want her to see what I looked like in that moment. Broken, betrayed, rearranged. She walked in buttoning her coat. Ready. I swallowed. Yeah. But I wasn't ready for anything. Not for the truth. Not for the next hour. Not for the next breath. I didn't confront her that day. Or the next. Or the one after that. I needed to understand how far it had gone. Whether it had crossed a line I couldn't come back from. Whether the woman I loved was still the woman I married. Or whether she had surrendered herself completely to the algorithm, to the attention, to a man who loved the version of her she played online. A week later, the universe handed me the final piece I didn't want. She said she was going to a brand meeting at a downtown cafe. She even kissed me before she left. A soft, distracted kiss that felt like the ghost of affection, not the real thing. I drove to the same cafe 20 minutes later. I told myself I wasn't spying. I was confirming. I was giving myself permission to stop lying to myself. I spotted her through the window, laughing, leaning forward, staring into a man's eyes with a softness I hadn't seen from her in months. Evan. He touched her hand. She didn't pull away. My chest tightened, not with anger but with grief so sharp it felt like drowning. I stepped back before she could see me. The cold air outside bit at my lungs as I stood there, struggling to breathe. I didn't storm inside. I didn't shout. I didn't make a scene. I just walked back to my car, shut the door, and let the silence swallow me whole. When she came home that evening, she acted as if nothing had happened. "Meeting went great," she said, slipping off her shoes. "We might have a travel partnership coming up." "That's so?" "Yes." She paused, sensing something in my tone. "Yeah, why?" I looked at her then, really looked. At the woman who once promised to love me more than the world watching her. At the woman who held a phone steady enough to capture our vows, but let our marriage slip through her fingers. "I saw you," I said quietly. "At the cafe." Her breath hitched. "Just once. But it was enough." "You followed me," she whispered. "No," I said. "I went to see if the truth would hurt less than not knowing." The silence stretched, tight as wire. "I'm sorry," she finally said, voice trembling. "It wasn't supposed to become something. Finished." She nodded, tears gathering quickly. I wished I could cry with her. But my tears had dried somewhere in the parking lot of that cafe. "How long?" I asked. "A few months," she whispered. "It started as collaboration, then talking, and I don't know. I didn't mean to fall into it. Not him. Not love. Not betrayal." As if the affair were a hole she stumbled into instead of a road she kept choosing to walk. "Do you love him?" I asked. Her silence was worse than any answer she could have given. I felt something in my chest close. A door maybe, or a chapter. "I don't want a performance," I said. "Not an apology for the camera. Not tears for your audience. Just the truth." She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "I don't know what I feel," she whispered. "I'm lost." "You should have told me that," I said. "Before you told him everything." She sobbed then. Quiet, shaking sobs that would have gutted me months ago. Now they only echoed inside a place she no longer had access to. "What do we do?" she asked, voice shattered. I looked at her. The woman I loved, the woman I didn't recognize, the woman I couldn't save from herself. "You figure out what you want," I said, moving toward the door. "And I figure out how to live with the truth." "Please don't leave," she cried. But I had to. Not because I didn't love her. God, that was the cruelest part. I loved her still. Deeply. Stupidly. But love isn't enough when you're the only one fighting for it. I stepped outside, the night air cold against my face. Behind me, through the window, her silhouette blurred as she slid to the floor, sobbing. Ahead of me, the streetlights cast long shadows. Uncertain, fragile, honest. I walked toward them anyway.